Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Good evening and welcome to Friday night. It's Plank of the Week on TalkTV. I'm Mike Graham and here we are to judge all the people that have done something stupid throughout the course of the last 7 days. It might not be just people, it could be organisations, it could indeed be groups of people, or it could indeed be a few members of the royal family and the odd politician. We shall see. We've got a fantastic panel helping me out from Reform UK. We've got Phillips joining us. Thank you for coming in. We've got Anisiobi making his first return this decade, I think it is. We've got Candice Holdsworth back again, Conservative commentator, and Mark Saggers, the king of Sunday night television, right here on TalkTV. Here's the plank that we're all going to be fighting for. And I don't know where to begin, but I can tell you there's a good place to start, and it's with Phillips and Scotland, I think.
I think she's been Plank of the Week so many times, she could actually rebuild the Forth Road Bridge, couldn't she?
She could.
Nicola Sturgeon, of course. I loved it when they were digging up her garden. I loved the shots of her having to go to the police station. I just want this line of duty narrative to come out, explode in the press, because she's been up to some dodgy stuff, hasn't she?
Well, I mean, who knows? I mean, of course, she would say that she's completely innocent. In fact, she has said that she's completely innocent because she doesn't think she's done anything wrong. In fact, she's sure she hasn't done anything wrong. My favourite tweet, I think, of the weekend was Nicola Sturgeon is the first SNP MSP to be arrested since April. Because, of course, they arrested her husband and they also arrested the treasurer, the top three people in the country who seem to know where literally all the bodies are buried and where all the motorhomes are.
It's hilarious, though, isn't it? In Britain, we've got the ongoing Boris Johnson saga with the Privileges Committee. You've got Nicola Sturgeon's camper van. And it's like, you know, bit of cake, bit of a camper van. In America, they do this stuff properly.
Yeah.
You know, they don't mess about. It's keeping, like, highly classified nuclear documents in your bathroom and pretending they're not there.
That's fine. We may come to that later.
I think she should be Plank of the Week, for it's just not a cool crime, is it? I mean, if you're going to have, all the riches or spoils...
Yeah. She's innocent. Let's keep it.
She's innocent.
Over at Reform, they've already passed judgment.
But even...
we must stress that she is innocent until proven guilty, and she was released without charge.
If it turns out that she's not, then, you know, at least be a bit like Erdogan and build a massive palace. Why are you going in for, you know, a sort of...
Well, maybe they did build a massive palace.
It's just...
Well, I'll tell you what we decided to do. We decided to go
underwhelming.
north of the border to get their view on Nicola Sturgeon. Have a look at this.
I quite like Nicola. I think she's done well this year. I have to say I'm not that keen on independence, like I think a lot of other people who maybe aren't too keen on Scottish independence. You know, I might reconsider due to Brexit, because I'm not too keen on the British government.
Is that a bird of prey?
I love that. Falconry, which has gone by the by. I mean, you know, in the land...
Well, now you know where to find the falcons.
The gentry won't believe that somebody there's got a falcon like that. By the way, all I'm interested in is every time I go 2 miles over the speed limit or I go into a town that I don't know, there are cameras everywhere to pick me up. So somebody somewhere must know who's driving the motorhome. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah. Well, suddenly when it got a bit dark in the living room, you just thought, why has it got dark? And you get all these great big motorhome parks out on the driveway. The sun's not coming in anymore. You think somebody would know something, but nobody seems to know anything. But it is an extraordinary state of affairs, isn't it? I mean, all of her supporters were saying, she's been released with no charge, therefore that's the end of it. But, you know, they did quiz her for 7 or 8 hours.
Do you know what?
And that's quite a long time for a former First Minister.
Right. And if it was anybody else, the brouhaha in the media would be deafening.
Imagine if they arrested Boris Johnson.
Well, quite. I mean, Boris Johnson ate some cake and it seems a lot worse than somehow disappearing £800,000 of donations or whatever.
Well, that's what's the allegation.
But, you know, it's...
We're not even sure if that is the allegation.
I think I'll be so disappointed if this just turns into a nothing. I'm ready now for the big narrative, sitcom ending of, you know, whatever. I'm fantasising.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Candice?
There's such a big difference, though, the way this is being discussed. There's Partygate, and then there's the Nicola Sturgeon. I mean, obviously, it's to do with the legal ramifications of discussing this in the media. But that's a huge story, and we can't really talk about it. Whereas Boris Johnson eating cake has been micro-analysed about 1 million times on social media.
The police did say that they've released her without charge, but she is still under investigation.
Well,
and she is still a suspect.
Yeah. For me, it's cake on one side and a large piece, and it's a small bit of Scottish pancake on the other. End of.
Right. You just think they're all tarred with the same brush.
Oh, I just couldn't. You couldn't make it
by
up.
the sounds of it. Okay. Well, let's move on to JJ. Who's your first nominee?
Just Stop Oil.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Have you finally seen the light?
I agreed with Just Stop Oil when they first started doing their stuff.
You did?
I did, yeah. I was a supporter. But the longer they've gone on, the more they've just annoyed me and the rest of Britain.
Yeah.
£4.5 million they've cost us in 6 weeks in terms of having to put extra police and have to have the police doing extra shifts and hours and whatever and overtime, which is just too much money. 4.5 million in 6 weeks. That's nuts. That's ludicrous. All in all, if they were going to, I don't know, Shell's headquarters or BP or anyone who's supplying the oil and doing the protesting for them, I'd be fine with that. But stopping ordinary folk from getting to school, getting to work...
And also, it's now getting ridiculous to the point where they're doing it every single day.
Yeah.
And while people who say, well, they should have the right to protest, well, that's fine, but not every day in every single place in London that they feel like doing it. Because it's not a protest anymore, is it?
The slow march is going to, as I said this before on the talk, everyday people are now going to take it in their own hands, which we're already seeing people push them out of the way and stuff. It's going to get worse, and someone from Just Stop Oil will get seriously hurt.
It will get, because last week there was a guy who went driving very fast around them, and if he had hit one of them, they'd be dead.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. But the government this week have actually passed a new law which says that police will now get powers to tackle slow walking protests, and they'll be able to actually arrest them for walking slowly, which up to now they've always said they couldn't do because they didn't know what the law was.
Yeah, well,
it's a bit worrying if you're a police officer.
Here's the good news. So earlier this week on Wednesday, Just Stop Oil did another protest in London, a slow march with the new powers. The cops went up to them, walking backwards, of course, to support them, and said, "These are the new regulations and rules. So you can march, but you have to do it on the pavement."
Yeah.
And Just Stop Oil actually went onto the pavement.
Did they?
So, yeah.
Because I also saw another one where they said, "Would you mind going to the pavement?" And they just went, "No." And they didn't do it. So I think it depends which Just Stop Oil you get.
The smart ones complied.
Yeah.
But they should, of course, they should be plank of the week. Cost of living crisis, and we're spending 4.5 million stopping someone from Tunbridge Wells.
And what's also
from
interesting is that in addition to the 4.5 million, we were told that between October and December there was 7.5 million.
Yeah.
So all told, it's over 12 million. But there's no figure for January to April. Why do you think that is? Bit too cold, maybe? Bit wet for them, not very nice. They've all gone off to the Caribbean to spend time in the Caribbean on holiday.
I think I saw Saggers on one of those marches.
Well, he certainly didn't.
He's working undercover.
You certainly didn't see me, but I tell you what, I used to be part of a march from train stations to football grounds. The police knew how to organise that. There wasn't any please and thank yous then, I can tell you.
I remember I'm going up White Hart Lane and walking up from Seven Sisters Road station and getting squeezed by a police horse when I was about 11. I was terrified.
I was on my way to watch Cambridge United play Hitchin. Luton didn't have a game.
Not much of a crowd for that, to be
fair. Well, hang on, hang on. There was a big... No, but Luton fans got it... They basically... ransacked our march. I got thrown into a garden over a hedge. Police didn't want to know. Could have landed on a spike. Might not have been here. That's the sort of thing the police can do if they want to do. Is get it sorted. Now it's just a case of we'll just
now they can't hide behind this law that they say they can't understand. But they've now started doing some very odd things, the Just Stop Oil people, because, as you know, I'm not a supporter of them, never have been, because to me they're all just a waste of time. They're people, they're old-age pensioners or they're students, and I believe they're being paid, actually, to be professional agitators.
Of course they are.
Have a look at what they're doing now.
London, make some noise for yourself! That's all the Just Stop Oil gang.
Apparently they're calling this drum and bass. Are you all right, by the way?
It might go down.
We can't get you now. This is a 3-year wait. They're calling this drum and bass slow cycling. That doesn't tell you what's wrong with Britain. And they're all white. They're not a very diverse group of people.
This is the thing about it. I remember those heady years in the middle of Brexit when you had all the loons outside College Green pulling my hair and spitting on me. And most of them seemed like someone's nana who wanted to go to Glastonbury and realised she wouldn't be able to hold it long enough to make the Portaloo, so just went down College Green instead.
I know.
They're mentally ill, these people.
Yeah, but the vibes,
Maybe this should be the new Plank of the Week theme.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, because I like the tune, I'm now going to retract my nomination. Just Stop Oil, another nomination.
The only sound I want to hear is
the sound of the prison door slamming shut.
I want to throw those things that they throw across cars to stop them down, but make a bike one so that it spears the tyres. Spikes.
Yeah, that's good.
It's getting quite medieval now.
I've always said, and this is not in any way to encourage violence, but if you can walk slowly in front of cars, then the cars can drive slowly through you, and you can get out of the way as the car gets nearer to you. And the same goes for the cyclists. The cyclists have got enough in this city going on, taking over the streets, right? These bozos want to be riding in front of my car. You better be careful, because I'm going to just drive very slowly at about 6-7 miles an hour through you.
I'll be hanging out the passenger window with my super soaker.
Yeah. But, I mean, this is the problem. I don't know what's wrong with him. I've got solutions to this money that's owed to the police, though. I think Dale Vince should pay it. The guy from Eco-Tristan, because he's bankrolling Just Stop Oil. He's quite open about it. Says he's given them, hundreds of thousands of pounds. And in fact, the guy from Succession, the director of Succession, has now joined in, and he's matching donations. He lives in America. What's he going to do with him? So he doesn't care if people are being held up in London because he doesn't even live here. Yeah. I just think Dale Vince should cough up the 12 million quid. And if he wants them to hire new police to do all the things that they have to do, let him pay for it. Yeah. What do you think? Candice, who's yours?
So mine is Greenwich Council
for
ruining the summer because they want to ban ice cream trucks. And I know there's a word for being miserable at Christmas, the Grinch.
Yes.
Is there something for being a killjoy in summertime? Because...
Sadiq Khan.
Now, initially, when I saw this headline, I thought, is it because of sugar? Because those are the two prongs of Puritanism
or fats
now.
Or something.
Yeah, it's public health and it's environmental concerns. And it was that. It's because they leave their engines idling, so they're causing air pollution. So we can't have our ice creams because of that.
Because if they turn the engines off, of course, the fridges don't work and it all melts, right?
Yes.
Of course, going back to our day with ice cream vans, there was a lot of drug shifting through the ice creams. Don't you remember the ice cream wars and everything in Scotland?
Not in Hampstead, right?
In Scotland, there was. There was a lot of that
there.
Well, all there was for me, though, we loved it. We absolutely loved that ice cream when they used to come round the corner and the chime would go up just like that, as you can hear it. Half a pound of tuppenny rice, half a pound of treacle. That's the way the money goes.
You grow up.
Eventually, goes the weasel.
Did you grow up in the 18th century?
I'm serious. That's what it was.
It's not my childhood.
And they were selling drugs from these things, you say?
In Scotland, there was a massive drugs.
There was. That's true.
Ice cream vans.
The ice cream wars. Yeah.
Were they like, would you like a flake
I mean,
in that, love?
you've got a flake, and you were flaked.
Would you like some heroin sprinkles?
Like,
what's going on?
No, it was a very successful and
ingenious,
very intuitive way of distributing drugs because nobody thought they were doing it.
Yes.
And so the kids would be lining up to get their ice creams, but around the other side, people would be buying their drugs from the other door.
Flipping heck.
Yeah, it was all the sort of Scottish gangs.
I know.
But Greenwich Council aren't saying these ice cream vans are selling drugs.
No.
They'd be fine. No, they'd be fine with that.
That's right.
Because you don't have to keep the car engine running.
You know what? The only thing that should still be flaky within any council is the flake on the top of the ice cream.
The 99. So when is this? Is this with immediate effect?
I'm not sure. I think they just announced it and lots of people are really angry about it because I don't think there was much discussion with the community. And I think they also accused them of nuisance trading or something like that. And we all know, as parents, those of us with little kids, we hear the and the kids start begging and we're like, oh, no. But when the ice cream truck doesn't arrive, we're all like, where is she? And like, our neighbourhood, we all start
stopping
WhatsApping.
entrepreneurs from being able to make a living.
Yes.
They're supposed to make a living. But Greenwich is a terrible place, right? Because I don't live too far from it. And they actually shut the road to Greenwich for about 3 months so they could change the cycleway, right? So you couldn't actually go down that route. So they caused incredible havoc in all the other roads around, like Deptford. And I know this is boring for people who don't know London, but South East London was basically gridlocked for 3 months because they shut one thoroughfare, which a lot of cars used to use.
You know what I think? It's not Greenwich Mean Time. Greenwich Mean.
It's just Greenwich Mean. And also, right, we just got a figure from the ULEZ charge, which has been collected in 2022, £224 million has been collected. A third of it from penalty charge notices that people didn't even know they were going to get. And so this is how much money it's now worth. And so they're not actually making the air any cleaner. They're just charging you to make the air dirtier, which is ridiculous, isn't it?
And taking away the wonderful frivolities of life that are ice cream trucks.
I think we might be seeing Sadiq Khan's name on here later on. But Mark, what's your first nomination?
Well, my first one is for the Johns Hopkins University, which was formed in the States, in Baltimore, in the 1840s.
Very famous school, as they say in America.
A very famous school with the motto, truth will set you free.
Blimey, that's a bit controversial.
So, they have now basically cancelled lesbian, the word, for a start. A non-man attracted to non-men, while past definitions refer to lesbian as a woman who is emotionally, romantically and or sexually attracted to other women. This updated definition includes non-binary people who may also identify with the label of non-man.
Non-man?
Now,
That sounds a bit sexist, doesn't it?
Yeah, but the more importantly than this, a friend of mine who's just about to arrive over here, Martina Navratilova, one of the greatest tennis players in the world, and came out, of course, so many years ago, just an absolutely wonderful human being. She is so hacked off this that she is going to give the biggest verbal volley, get it, that you've ever seen. Because they have cancelled lesbians.
How can they do that? That sounds like something that a sexist organisation would do, where you go, you can't be... Because surely the whole point of the wokes...
Well, exactly.
You can identify as whatever you like. If you want to be a cactus, you're a cactus. If you want to be a lesbian, you're a lesbian.
Can't be a lesbian anymore.
But what's their objection to lesbian? Because surely non-man is, as I say, sort of gender-specific, isn't it?
Well, a gay man is a man who is emotionally, romantically, sexually, affectionately or reasonably attracted to other men.
Right.
Who identify now as a member of the only community at times gay.
So they're centering it around men. Still.
So it's sexist against women.
Because to be fair,
as usual.
To be fair, then a man should be described as a non-woman who's attracted to another non-woman.
Yeah.
Which they're not doing. So yeah, it is sexist, I think.
That's a very odd development, that.
Yeah, it's hardly
I'm not quite sure what to make of it.
The truth go free and
wrong?
letting yourself go free, is it?
Yeah. What's wrong with the word woman? I mean, it's all these other phrases as well, like chest feeder, cervix haver, bleeder.
Yeah.
I mean, they're actually really, really dehumanising terms. And now for women to just lose the category of woman completely and just be non-men.
Yeah. But we've lost the word from an awful lot of literature, haven't we, in this country? Like the NHS have changed the word woman in lots of different places. And, of course, the people who say, oh, I don't know what you right-wings get so upset about, it's just words. Well, why do they get so upset? Why do they want to change everything?
All we have to make sense of reality is words and their meaning.
There are now more gender categories than there are species of cat.
Are there? And how many is that?
About 350.
Blimey. Well, I'll tell you what we've got. I think we've got a little clip from Johns Hopkins University.
Oh, good.
This is what they get up to there.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the launch for the Gender Affirming Closet.
At the Gender Affirming Closet, we offer a wide range of clothing items, from masculine to feminine presentations and expressions, because we really want to encourage people to explore their gender in a space that feels comfortable for them.
Explore your gender in a space that is comfortable for you.
So instead of Mr. Ben going to his dress-up box, is Mr. and Miss go into theirs. What is this? It's just totally...
Well, I don't even know why they're calling it a closet. I mean,
it's mad.
Don't you come out of a closet or you go into a closet, but you don't actually have a closet, do you?
No, it's a wardrobe. It's a closet.
Yeah,
in
but
some
that's a big
places,
room, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
But why do they need to give students different clothes to wear? Like, you come to a lecture now wear something that you want to wear because your own clothes won't be that.
I suppose the argument may be that if you are male and identify as a woman or vice versa, that you may feel uncomfortable going into a regular shop.
Or a non-man.
Or a non-man. You might feel uncomfortable going into your high street store and looking at women's clothing.
But also the other ridiculous thing, and this is classic of these people, they want you actually, rather than to come out of the closet, to go into it.
Yeah. And get some different clothes. I mean, what message are they sending? They don't like the way you look. You know, for heaven's sake. Don't forget, EasyJet. You can go into St Johns Hopkins University on an EasyJet flight because they've got 25 different genders on the flight crew before you even get started. Anyway, listen, we'll be back with more coming up from Plank of the Week. We might be talking about the Tory party. We might be talking about the Labour Party. We might be talking about the trade unions. It's all coming up next on TalkTV. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. It is Friday night, and this is the one place where you can be as judgmental as you want, because that's exactly what we're going to do. And it's my turn, so I'm going to go with one and only. I mean, I hate to win this every week, but I think this may be the winner. And it's the Tory party, basically, because, I mean, we have had some week. You know, we've started off with Nadine Dorries appearing on my show last Friday to say that under no circumstances would she cause a by-election. Therefore, she wouldn't be stepping down to become a House of Lords person. And then a few hours later did exactly the opposite of that, because apparently her name had been taken off a list that she had been assured it was going to be on. Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak then went into some kind of mad sort of he said, she said psychodrama that's still going on, and they're still accusing each other of talking rubbish. Sunak clearly has no love lost for Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson clearly thinks that Rishi Sunak has stitched him up. One of the most amazing things is that in addition to taking Nadine Dorries off the list, they've added Ross Kempsell, who's quite a young guy, who used to work here actually, and is now the recipient of the youngest lordship, I think, in the history of the House of Lords. Another woman who's a 29-year-old aide to Downing Street, who's now also in the House of Lords. And he tried to get his own dad in there. And you just think, what are they doing? What are they doing? There's a hairdresser in there as well. A lot of people said they're surprised he had a hairdresser. But I mean, in the end, you're kind of going, there's people out there in the big wide world, outside of London, outside of Westminster, who can't afford to eat, who can't afford to heat their homes if they get a bit cold, or put the fan on if it gets a bit hot. You know, and here they are arguing about, you know, who's a bigger Wally, for want of a better word, which I can't say on television. We've got a clip of Nadine Dorries, I think, with Piers Morgan, trying to explain why there's a problem between Rishi and Boris.
Someone like Rishi Sunak and James Forsyth from privileged backgrounds who have it all very easily given to them on a plate, you're in trouble. You won't make it because they can do whatever they want to stop it.
There are a lot of people.
Exactly what's happening.
There are a lot of people who would say exactly the same about your mate Boris.
Rishi Sunak has got a past that's falling around his ears. He doesn't seem to know what to do about it.
But he's a product of that himself, isn't he? I mean, this is the thing with the Conservative Party. I go mad when people say, why are you in Reform UK? Only the Tories can win. And I'm like, yeah, and look what happens when they do. Look what happens when we stand down and gave them 80 seats. And I think the problem is, when you look at the left wing of politics, it's kind of fragmented, you know, Lib Dems, Greens, who are more socialist and more wacky than, say, Labour. And Labour have been through it with their whole momentum thing, and Jeremy Corbyn, they split in two. With the Conservative Party, they sit there going, we're all things right wing, and then spend the whole time faction fighting, parlour games. It's like it's a sixth form debating society.
And now their main strength, it seems to me, is what they boast about, is that we're very good at winning elections because we can change into anything you like. And you go, well, that's not really what we're looking for. We're looking for somebody who might actually believe in something, stand up for something, you know, and maybe actually do the things you said you were going to do.
The peerages thing is revolting. It sticks in my craw. I've hated this for years now because both parties use it for grace and favour, for essentially blackmail in a way that would, you know, make someone like Erdogan in Turkey blush. You know, we'll give you a peerage if you do this.
You gave us a load of money.
I don't know, he's on my mind. He's on my mind right now. I got Turkish neighbours and they're very upset about the last election. But he's not a great man. But
watching.
It's real. It's dodgy, isn't it? And you know, we've got one of the biggest legislatures in the world.
The whole House of Lords is dodgy, though.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're there for life. It's not like they go after 4 years. It's like they're lifers. And so now it's over 650 people. I can't remember how many peers there are, but it makes us one of the biggest. We've got more representatives than communist China.
Yeah.
It's mad.
They managed to govern India with fewer people.
Right.
You know, which is quite a lot bigger than Britain.
Yeah, I think there definitely needs to be some reform. I've sat in House of Lords a few times, watched them go through laws line by line, and when you've got the experts there, the ones who actually do turn up and do a job, I think they're worth having. You know, if you're
I think there is room for a second chamber. You don't need so many people.
No.
And you shouldn't be going in there just because the Prime Minister said you were a nice guy.
True, but also I think Nadine Dorries has a point that Rishi Sunak and his lackeys, they are privileged people from privileged backgrounds, and they have blocked, no matter what people think about Nadine Dorries, she was born into poverty. In a poor area, and she has worked her way up.
No, I think Nadine's absolutely spot on. I think she's great, but she's the kind of person the Tories should be embracing rather than...
Absolutely.
You know, instead of having all the chinless wonders knocking about. So, you know,
well, this is such a gift to Labour, though. I mean, the Tories tearing themselves apart, possible implosion of the SNP in Scotland. I mean, the stars are aligning for Keir Starmer, and he's not necessarily that brilliant himself.
I bet you will.
There's only one way to sort this out. Lord Coe has to referee a David and Goliath, probably a cage fight these days as opposed to 3 rounds in the ring, between Johnson and Sunak.
Yeah.
Because the Red Wall and White Van Man will pay a lot of money towards the Conservative Party's next election to go and watch that.
Isn't that bantamweight against a light heavyweight, though?
Just Paul will ruin it.
Yeah, different weight division.
Just Paul will ruin it anyway. As soon as it gets going, it'll be orange powder.
Absolutely. Alex, you've got one of our favourite nominees.
Yeah, I know, and I feel like
it hasn't been on for a while.
So same old topics as always, isn't it? Because it's Sadiq Khan, who you were mentioning before the break about how much they're raking in from ULEZ, which nobody wants, and he's basically presiding over this, you know, traffic fine cartel. But most recently, he's come up with a list of words or his department's come up with a list of words that you must use instead of, I don't know, the ordinary English language. So I've got them here. So instead of saying ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
You know, because can't have that these days. It's got to be something that doesn't exclude non-binary people. They don't specify what. So maybe humans or those who identify as humans.
Yeah, he likes Londoners.
Instead of men and
It's
women,
fine if you're a Londoner,
you say
but if you're
people
not,
or Londoners.
Not everybody in
Londoners.
London is a Londoner. Quite a lot of people come to visit here, and if you go up to them and go, "Hello, Londoners," you go, "Actually, we're from Poland."
Some of my absolute favourites, though, is instead of illegal immigrant, it's someone with insecure immigration status.
Excellent.
So,
That'll help.
Pending approval.
That'll help.
And then
he also calls them undocumented. You can say undocumented as well.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything.
Well, they say that in the US. They call them undocumented in the US as well.
Documents in the sea,
No,
don't
but
they?
the trouble is, you could be an undocumented anything.
Right.
It doesn't make you an illegal immigrant just because you're
I'm the
undocumented. It
undocumented
might mean
mayor
you
of
don't have a
London.
birth certificate. It might mean you haven't got a driving licence. It might mean, you haven't got an old age pensioner's badge to get on the bus.
Non-English speakers are now called Londoners with English language needs. I think he should include himself in that.
Yes,
Right?
I think you should.
That is English
Absolutely right.
language needs on a plate.
I mean, it really is quite ludicrous. Again, a bit like the whole argument you're making from Johns Hopkins. They try and change the language and it becomes less accurate.
Yeah.
And it's just ridiculous.
It's all need, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything he does is it's need. So we have the need to change language. We have the need to change gender. We have the need to do this. We have the need to stop all these fumes and everything.
Yeah.
He is one of the most bloody needy person I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
And I am
Have you ever
afraid.
met him?
What?
Have you ever met him?
I don't need to meet him. I can see what he does day
I'm totally
in,
with you.
day out.
I had to ask you that question.
You can see what he's doing day in, day out.
I mean, they've now got these ludicrous posters on the underground. I don't go on it as much as I used to. Bottom of the escalators, unwanted touching is an offence. Really? I didn't know that. Because, everybody goes to the underground to unwantedly touch women or men. Who's he sending these messages to? Why do we need to be told, carry bottles of water with you at all times when you're on the tube in case you faint?
Because people don't. Because people don't do it.
If they don't want to, that's fine. It's okay.
You asked that question.
Why?
I'm answering it.
Why?
Who's he talking to?
Yeah.
People who don't
But
do it.
how much money?
I don't need to be told to put one foot in front of another or breathe in and out through my mouth or nose.
You don't, but some people do.
No, they don't.
The
This
thing
is the
is,
problem.
no.
We live in this bloody nanny state where they want to tell you how to do everything.
It's how much. Someone actually got a job, haven't they, in City Hall in London, whose job is faff about with language. You're called a diversity officer or something. Your job is essentially make up your job because it doesn't really exist. This isn't like a function that we need in society. So just invent it as you go along. And they're probably getting 3 times.
Yeah, but we've got the US charge. It's fine. We can afford it.
224 million. Where's that going, by the way? 224 million quid. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You can get a lot of announcements
It's
for
going
that.
to be, I think it's actually 400 million over the last 16 months, and it'll top $1 billion by the end of the year. I mean, that's mad, isn't it?
It is
Well, maybe
mad.
they can fix our streets then.
No, they won't. Don't worry. But you've got another unexpected nominee.
Yeah, I've got...
You?
Yeah, for me, I know, I'm surprising you. Daniel Shears, National Health, Safety and Environment Director for the GMB Trade Union, because it got a bit hot last week, didn't it? We hit 26 degrees Celsius.
Whoa.
And this bozo, to use your phrase, which I now use all the time, this
a
bozo
great word.
says, if it's too warm outside, let your workers come in later, let them leave earlier, give them more breaks, or let them work from home altogether, which is nuts. This is why this country is crumbling.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's a society...
Nobody's going to work.
No one's going to work, and we're making people softer. Bit of grit, it's 25 degrees Celsius. No one's dying from this.
I mean, people go on holiday to get hotter than that.
Yeah.
Why would you... I mean, I understand that some British houses are not designed to keep you cool, in which case you go to the work, don't you? You want to go to the office because it's nice and
got a bit
cool.
of aircon. Exactly.
I spend half my life sitting in my car with the air conditioning on because it's the only cool place I've got, because I haven't got it in the house. So, if it gets really hot, that's where I go.
Yeah.
We're literally one of the coldest countries on earth, apart from a bit of Scandinavia. Otherwise, everything basically to the west, south, east has far hotter summers than we do. Far hotter
When
summers.
I worked in the Middle East, the rule was if the temperature hits 50 degrees Celsius, you have to go home.
Right.
And it would hit 53, 54, and people would just turn off the aircon, turn off the thermostats, so you couldn't tell how hot it was. But people in the Middle East are not dying from working in 50-degree heat.
No. But it's like the story we had this week about the old solar panels. Apparently, in this country, the solar panels don't work when it gets too hot. Well, the Middle East is full of solar panels, as is Turkey, funnily enough. There's another reference.
Yeah, but ours have been made in China, and they're just designed to sabotage
Well, I mean,
us.
somehow we've managed to get the only solar panels that don't work in the heat.
Yeah.
Right?
And wind turbines that don't work if it's too windy.
If it's too windy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is why the renewables aren't working terribly
well. And the other
well.
thing was, I know that perhaps there weren't the unions in the same way, but the GMB had been around when we still had mining.
Yes.
We would never have got an inch of coal out of any mine because do you know how hot it is down there?
It's very hot.
very hot.
Towards the
indeed.
centre of the Earth, it gets hotter.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've never done loads of things. If health and safety people have been involved, you know, we've never gone to war for a start. You go, sorry, what, you want to have a war? You can't do that. Blimey, people might die. They'll actually be shot and everything. You know, you'd be going, yeah, but we do have to beat back, you know, the Nazis from Germany. And all that. Oh, no, they're just like the Tories. That'll be fine. Just keep slagging them off in the papers. Anyway, we'll come back with more because we haven't finished yet. We've got more on the weather, actually, because it has been a bit hot in certain parts of the country. Also, HMRC. We don't like them very much, but be careful what you wish for. This is Plank of the Week. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. This is TalkTV. It's Friday night, of course. Where else would you want to be? And, of course, we're almost getting halfway through the show. We're going to get 2 more nominees in this particular section, and then we're going to see who's going to become the winner. We might be going across the Atlantic a bit later on as well. Candice is next. What do you got for us?
So HMRC. So there was a story in the Times this week about their tax digitisation scheme, which has gone 5 times over cost, has been delayed numerous times, is now going to cost the taxpayer about 1.3 billion.
Wow.
I mean, for a digital scheme. I mean, if a private company had done that, they'd be done, finished, in the dust.
Yes.
But HMRC, which is now telling us all to dig deep, it's the highest tax burden on record, can't manage their costs.
No.
What is going on? I mean, no politician now can cut taxes because there's no corresponding cut in public spending. But we need to actually look at what is being spent in government. Like, what are they spending our money on?
Right. Well, most of these schemes that end up costing so much more money is because they get so delayed, don't they? They keep putting them off and they keep pushing it back. Because in the civil service, nobody cares if you don't do anything. You know, so if you said, look, you're supposed to have finished this by the end of last week, and you're going, oh, sorry. OK, then, how much longer time? Well, how about next week? OK, then.
Sometimes
and you get to next week,
to...
and you have you finished it now?
I feel like sometimes you go to another country and it's like going into the future.
Yeah.
You forget how backwards we are in Britain. Like when I was living in Belgium and using, you know, the European model healthcare system, so you had a nifty little medical insurance card, go in, do done, little app on the phone, book your doctor's appointment. Here it's like, oh, let me just go look through the cobwebs to see if I can dig out your medical records, you know, find them through bits of paper.
They're wrong.
Right.
Person. So what are they? What's their excuse, HMRC? What
they just say that things had to be changed. They had an original business plan, and then that didn't work. But I mean, come on, this is by any measure, this is a serious error. And they work with numbers all day. And who are the people managing this? And if they don't have the skills to do it, they need to bring in people who do, but they won't, because they're quite arrogant about these types of things.
Well, they might work with numbers every day, but they don't work with telephones and numbers, and that's because they've probably got 3 work experience people on the phone.
It's the one thing that they used to do quite well in this country. When you did have a query with the taxman, actually, normally they were quite helpful.
The taxman had a query with me, and in those days you could go face to face. I went face to face, Brooklands Avenue, Cambridge, and he said, "How'd you get here in your car?" And I said, "No." He said, "Good, because we'd have been taking that." Yeah. But actually, it's what I needed. I needed to kick up the bum. I hadn't been paying tax for a year and a half. A
friend of mine was telling me a story the other day about how he was interviewed by the taxman, but he hadn't told his business partner that he was being interviewed by the taxman, and they were running a sort of entertainment business, shall we say. And as they'd managed to sort of solve the whole thing, they'd had a couple of hours of meetings, accountants were there, they'd worked out a way of paying back some of the money. They didn't say they owed all of it, you know. Next thing, as they come out and the guy's saying cheerio to him, the partner turns up in a Ferrari and the guy's going, I think we might have to have another meeting. Because it is, I mean, it's a terrible thing to be stuck in with the taxman, but almost every sort of public venture that we get involved. Do you remember the NHS? We're going to revamp their entire system and make it computerised. They spent £4 billion.
Exactly.
And it never worked. Yeah. And then they just had to chuck it in the bin. The Scottish Parliament was originally going to be built for something like £40 million, ended up costing 10 times that. And you go, well, how is that possible? And I remember being up there at the time, and it's a very odd shape, the Scottish Parliament. It doesn't look like anything you'd have ever conceived of building. And they ordered all the windows, and they were all the wrong size. And you just go, how can you be this useless? You know?
I remember seeing someone say something that once. It was on one of those house building programs, and the woman was ordering windows. And they said, "Did you get the measurements right?" She's like, "Yeah, I thought it was just about right." It's like, no, when it comes to windows, they have to be exactly right.
Just about. I know. It is extraordinary, but you're right. And then nobody does anything. You know, we've got the Department of HMRC, which we're told actually has a reasonable number of people going back to work in it. But lots of the civil service departments have only got like 40%, 45% attendance. And that's why nobody's doing anything. No. And there's no pressure.
No, but they're all doing slow bike rides to drum and bass. That's the problem.
I mean, last week's story
that.
about Sadiq Khan's office was that they were being asked to join up with Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil at the weekends because they might need to do more than just work in, you know, a green city hall if they really wanted to change the world. Unbelievable. Right, Mr. Saggers, you've got something else for us on the weather front.
Well, the weather front. What do we call a weather presenter these days? Do we have to call them that?
A weatherman.
Weatherman or not?
Weather forecaster?
I don't know what we call them.
Person?
Whatever we do, I'm fed up with them.
There's a lot of them now.
Well, we don't need any of them, actually.
Really?
And apologies.
We've got a couple here.
I mean, I know, but you don't really need...
Why not?
Really need a TV weather anymore. Well, I'll tell you why. And it's all down at the BBC, really.
Yeah.
The BBC weather, I timed this both on Radio 4 and on the news in the evenings, right? We spend 70% of our time being told on television weather and radio weather by the BBC, the forecast in Scotland. It's all it is. They don't mention... They brush past most of England, having joined up sort of the east and the west, and it might be a bit sunny there and that. Scotland, we know every single mountain that's got to have a bit of snow
the same in Scotland. It's always raining.
It's always raining up there, but it's all about Scotland. Very little. Northern Ireland gets a little bit more than we do. Right. But you know what? The majority of England, you can forget about it. You know, there is absolutely... And the only thing that's worse than that has now started in the summer.
Right.
And that is the away day for the breakfast show weather person.
Oh, yes.
So they spend our money from our licence fees on travelling down to some exotic place in some part of this country, staying overnight, probably having a few nice drinks.
Very nice.
Probably.
And there they are the next day, and they really want us to feel proud of them when I'm bringing you the weather today from alongside a coast that, if you could smell, is just full of sewage. Yeah. As the weather person will be when it comes to England in the next 2 months.
It sounds like your issue is with the BBC.
I've got all the issues with the BBC. Worked for them for a long time.
ITV, not much better, by the way.
Literally, don't tell me. Everyone has weather apps. And they're all brilliant because you have about 15 or 20 of them, and you always pick the one that tells you the best weather.
Exactly.
Oh, it's all going to be all right on the BBC.
And none of them,
it says it's going to be
none
thunderstorms.
of them are the same, are they?
No, it's not raining on this one or that one or whatever. Forget the weather.
Right, okay.
Let's have a couple more minutes news.
But we're supposed to be the English, are we not?
Well, we can still talk about the weather.
Yeah, we love talking about the weather. The British people like talking
about the weather in England.
We talk about two things. Whenever I used to go to America and I'd go and visit my sister and her American husband, and he would say, you Brits, all you do is when you get somewhere, you talk about how you got there. Why did you do that? And I'm like, I didn't even know we did it. But it's true. You go, I had to go up 95 and take a left at Hartford, and then, it was a bit of a nightmare there, so I don't care how you got here.
I would just love them to do it one more time for all of us, because they would be in meltdown over the gender.
Well, talking about meltdown.
It would be, what's happening, weather girl, from me? Is it raining men?
Very good. Well, let's have a look at what they did this week. This is an ITV weather presenter, it says here, explaining why it's very, very dangerous to go outside in the heat.
But we have an amber alert for the southern half of England, and this means the weather impacts are likely to be felt across the whole healthcare service and the potential to affect the whole population.
Let me just tell you, my birthday is at the end of May, and I've had quite a few of these now.
Right.
Every single year, early May is a bit chilly. We get that easterly wind. Then just before my birthday, which is at the end of the month, it gets hot for a while and I get the barbecue out and ready. Then by the time you get to the 28th of May, it's cold again.
Right.
Then in June, if you're lucky, you get a bit of this heat wave. Other times you get
more
of the rain.
Why are you not doing the weather forecast?
And then
this is really good.
And then on
long-term weather forecast.
Then in the end, basically, you just get what we always get because we're an island. And is there any change in the weather? Not really. I mean, I remember glorious sunshine in the 70s and 60s now and again.
Yeah.
And a lot of snow with drifts.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
No problem.
You know what? Go outside, do what you want, enjoy yourself with your family. and just get on with it.
And try not to do anything stupid.
Don't die or threaten the NHS.
I mean, I came back from the big hot weekend on Monday morning, and I said to everybody listening and watching, I said, well, hopefully we all managed to survive the weekend.
We did.
Because it was very hot.
It was very hot.
And as you say, I mean, Jodie, you worked in the Middle East. I mean, and I worked in, New York in the summer. It's hellish.
Scorching,
absolutely awful. And it's really muggy, and you can't breathe very well.
Yeah.
But, you know that, so it's OK.
Yeah.
You know.
Just a caveat, this last weekend on the Saturday, I'd gone up to the northeast. I was in Northumberland. Beautiful place, amazing. I set off from London this is actually the Thursday morning, set off from London, going onto my yacht in the
You're
south
right,
of
they love to talk about how much they travel, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
How'd you get there?
How'd I get there? Ellen,
Getting back was a nightmare.
Train to work in. No, but off I went up to the northeast, and the next day we were taking a boat trip to the Farne Islands, and I was literally there, and people saying, "Oh, isn't this heat wave crazy? Isn't it so hot? It's like the Mediterranean." I had to go and buy a woolly jumper. I had to buy an emergency woolly jumper because it was cloudy, and we were getting a little boat going over to see puffins, and it was freezing.
No, it wasn't traumatising because it's what you do, isn't it? You just adapt to the situation you happen to be in.
Do and whatever.
Now, you might not know this and you might not have seen this, but I actually did a weather forecast as well some time ago, which JJ is going to be particularly enjoying seeing.
Oh, well, I can't wait.
We're going to have a look at it now. Do you know, I've always wanted to do the weather, so now's my chance. And here it is. Apparently, it's sunny everywhere except in Glasgow, where it's never sunny, because even in the middle of May, it's always raining there. Manchester looks quite good as well. That's a bit further down, actually, isn't it? Yeah, down there. That's Manchester. Over there a bit is over towards where all the migrants come in across the Channel, and the weather's a bit choppy, so there might not be as many of them coming as you would like. But listen, the thing about doing the weather is that in Britain, you never know whether it's going to be right or not. You don't have to get it right because nobody else does. So frankly speaking, I'm telling you that over the next 4 days, we're going to have changeable weather, right, which pretty much means it could be anything. It could be doing anything at all, from snow to sleet to rain to very, very sunny. Here in London, it's very sunny, very hot, hotter than Ibiza, in fact, in some cases. And away down there in Cornwall, right, there's people surfing. Look out for Matt Hancock. And just be careful out there and always be prepared. Take a pair of mittens, a woolly hat and a bikini. But listen, here's the thing. The weather will change again because it's been warm for a while.
Yeah.
And then, the funny thing about the weather forecasting that they do now is that, as you say, not only do they tell you what the weather's doing in Scotland, but they tell you what the weather's doing now. I've never understood that. Predict the weather, tell me what it's going to do tomorrow. You don't have to tell me what it's doing now, because I can see it. I'm actually looking at it. I can see whether it's raining or not. I can see whether it's actually sunny. In America, they predict the weather with incredible accuracy. They've got this thing called AccuWeather forecasting. I was there once in Connecticut, and it said there's going to be a snowstorm, massive snowstorm, a blizzard. You won't be able to drive in it at 13 minutes past 1. And that's exactly when it happened.
Yeah.
At 13 minutes past 1. And they actually have an alert for it. Like they've got this heat alert over here. But there they actually had an alert that went off on my phone because it was that dangerous.
Look,
we don't need that.
But Mike, because I'm such good friends with the weather people who work here on this network, I've got to say Saggers' nomination's got to be retracted.
So that's 2 we've retracted. We've got to do 2 extra. Let's do 2 extra when we come back. And also, I'm going to be telling you about the President of the United States of America. Which one, though? Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We are nearly at the end of the show, the final furlong when I'm going to pick the winner, because we don't give it out to any sort of democratic vote anymore, I'm afraid. And I'm going to come with my second nominee, and it's not who you think it is. It's not Joe Biden, and it's not even Donald Trump. It's the bloke who's trying to prosecute Donald Trump, and I know that doesn't narrow it down either, because there's quite a few of them. But this particular guy is a Miami sort of district attorney by the name of Smith. And it's not Mr. Smith went to Washington, Jack Smith. And this is a guy who has brought the charges that will bring Donald Trump down. How many times have you heard that, right? Donald Trump's popularity has meanwhile gone skyrocketing up. He's been in Miami this week, where he's basically been arraigned on charges which relate to the removal of all sorts of documents, thousands of documents from the White House. The thing I find amazing about this is that apparently if you're president of America, you can take anything out of the White House that you want, including a load of documents which might or might not be revealing, national security. And I find that much more shocking than actually the fact that he's taken these documents and wants to hang on to them, because they all have their presidential libraries, they all have their legacies, and apparently there is a law which which allows them to do it.
Yeah.
So it's a very confusing story, this, because as ever, the people who hate Donald Trump say, this is it, that's the end, he's finished, he's never going to see the light of day, he's going to go to jail, he's a terrible, awful human being. And then you get his supporters who say, well, actually, he's allowed to do this. They knew he'd done it. The fact is that he didn't quite tell them the truth when they asked him how many of them he had. Yeah. And then the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago. But in the end, I think this guy's a plank because he's just going to be yet another notch on Donald Trump's kind of gun rack. And he's just going to tell people, well, it's a witch hunt, because that's what it looks like. Right?
Everything falls along the partisan divide in America.
It does.
Everything. And even if you look at things from the other side, from the side of the Democrats, they will say, well, Trump picked people for the Supreme Court so that they could get Roe v. Wade watered down.
Which is probably true.
Yes.
Because
every institution has just been politicised along this deep partisanship.
And
yeah, sorry, Mike.
And I was going to say, it's just, it makes America look bad to me.
Yeah, but like, as you say, it's strange because Bill Clinton and Obama both took files.
Yeah.
And they both end up in court about it, and they both were, it was ruled in their favour that actually, OK, you can have them.
Right.
It set the precedent. So I don't understand now why, well, I understand why, because they all hate Trump. But I don't understand why they think this is going to succeed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And even if it does succeed, the thing that I really like about America is how screwed up it is. If he was found guilty and he did go to prison, he could still be president.
Yeah.
And he could be president from prison, which would be amazing, wouldn't it? But we've got a little clip of President Trump describing Jack Smith.
The prosecutor in the case, I will call it our case, is a thug. I've named him Deranged Jack Smith. What these thugs have done to my family is a disgrace. I will tell you that. And I say it to all of the fake news, because there's a lot of it back there.
He actually looks younger now than he did last time he ran.
It's funny, when you see stuff like that, you kind of think, oh, I'll miss him if he's not around. I really want one of those little, like a bog book of Donald Trump's names for people. They're brilliant.
If this other guy's played his cards, but I tell you what, if he played bridge, it's going to turn out to be 7 no Trumps, and he ain't winning.
Very good. He's got all of them today. He's hit every single note, hasn't he? Now, it's time for me to decide who is going to win. And I must remind all of you, this is not about any personal favourites. It's not about winning and losing. It's all about being on the same team. So I'm giving it to Alex Phillips because I think it has to be Nicola Sturgeon.
It's got
to be Nicola Sturgeon.
Every time I'm on.
Why not?
Every time.
I've done this show once only before, about 2 years ago. I said it now, I'll say it again. You are corrupt. And your show is corrupt.
This is why it took you 3 years to get back on.
Don't invite me again.
Anyway, listen, thank you very much indeed, Alex. You're welcome back anytime. JJ, see you in 2027. Candice, thank you very much. Mark Saggers, see you on Sunday night.
Great to be alive.
Plank of the week. Coming up next, it's the Dean Dorries on Friday night.